Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Anton, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Well, yesterday we got a bunch of new cards spoiled, previewed, whatever you want to call them, revealed, and today we have gotten basically more content shown to us. Nothing new, really, no new cards, but a huge balance patch. Um, Lots of other things in this patch notes as well, but predominantly we're going to go over the card changes, the buffs, the nerfs, some of the adjustments, and theorize on how this is going to shape up the meta. Also going to be talking about Eternal a lot because with the patch coming up, I believe the rank ladder is going to shift towards Eternal instead of Standard, which is just a fact. So you have to think about things like, for example, Set Karma, pretty good deck in Standard. Set Karma in Eternal might be a little too slow. So enough rambling, let's go and look at the balance patch. Quite a bit of stuff here to go through. As you can see, lots and lots of stuff. Mostly going to just be talking about this section up here, the very first part of the patch notes, buffs, nerfs, card adjustments. We'll go through everything else, of course, but fairly quickly. So, patch 4.5 notes. So yeah, standard, just hello, welcome, patch 4.5, variety patch. Welcome to the first month of Eternal Ranked. For many of you, it's been a few months since you put down your rotated cards. Yes, very true. Now it's time for you to pull them out of their safe spots in your collection and put them back on the board for not only a ranked season, but 2 Runeterra opens. So for the people who are competitive, very, very important for you to know. As part of our first Eternal focused balance patch, we wanted to set the bar for what power level we expect the format to be, so you'll see reverts to some old favorites that had left their time in the spotlight. These changes are just the first steps into making Eternal the format we have in mind, a place for cards to be just as powerful as they can, and for deck builders to have the world at their fingertips. So basically they're saying this is going to be a very high power level format, which I'm going to be honest with you, makes sense. Like these kind of formats in all card games, I've played a lot of them, the formats that don't rotate generally are extremely fast, extremely high power level, not necessarily aggro dominated, but even slower value control decks are still very fast. Or at least they have insanely good anti-aggro, anti-mid-range cards, because again, the aggro and mid-range decks are really fast and can win like on turn 3, turn 4, turn 5. The Eternal format still has a lot of room to be controlled by all of you. So if there is something you love and want to see more of, then let us know by playing it and talking about it on social media. So, basically Riot being like, hey, if you have anything you want to say, tell us. Anything else important here? I guess the editor's note is fairly important. With both Runeterra opens as well as ranked ladder available for Eternal, we're focusing most of our changes on Eternal cards. You'll notice a few cards that are standard legal are also being lightly touched here. Check out the cards or the changes below. So, now for the main section of this video, why you guys probably clicked on it, let's go and look over the changes. Loaded dice. I will forgive you if you didn't know this card even existed. This card's actually been in the game for quite a long time. And the card has been trashed its entire existence. It is a fun meme card, so a lot of people like myself and others do like to try to brew with this card every now and again, but it's just so bad. What does it do? For 4 mana at slow speed, it would say, for the rest of the round, when you damage the enemy nexus, nab 1. Okay, nabbing cards is pretty good, drawing cards, taking your opponent's stuff, seeing more of their strategy, what they have and do not have left in their deck. Now though, next round, when you damage the enemy nexus, nab 1. So it's basically saying like, you get its effect, not now, but for the next round. That is a huge buff, because now you get to start with a whole fresh turn. You get to theoretically develop more cards between now and when you want to do lots of attacks. You get all of your mana back again. And that was always kind of one of Loaded Dice's weaknesses, is that you're spending 4 mana to basically do nothing. You're still spending 4 mana to pretty much do nothing. We're not really affecting the board. We're not really getting cards right now, compared to some like actual card draw, like Deep Meditation or something. So yeah, and it's in Bilgewater. Bilgewater has solid card draw, you know, like Eye of Nagakoboros, Salvage, etc., etc. So it's not like Bilgewater is desperate for cards. So I don't think this card's going to see play, but it is overall a buff. Maybe some kind of NAB synergy deck with merchants, like Black Market Merchant, can do something with this, but probably not. Next up, oh, I like this. I really, really like this change here. Buffing up some of the Celestial cards, specifically the Celestial spells that you have to behold to activate. Pretty much just removing the behold condition. So now, you know, Supernova, Cosmic Rays, Cosmic Inspiration, now they'll just do their thing, regardless if you behold or not. On the one hand, yes, it's a powerful buff. On the other hand, I don't like that it does take away some of what I like to think of as the skill of the game, which is you think your opponent doesn't have like a way to get another Celestial. The Celestial they have is on the board, like a Traveler or something, and in response to Supernova, you kill the Traveler, and then the spell fizzles because they no longer behold a Celestial. I like that, but it barely ever comes up, and to be honest with you, I feel like a lot of people will agree with this. Targon, specifically Invoke Targon, has been struggling for about a year, maybe more by now. Like, it's not in a good spot. Targon as a region has kind of just been relegated to the Pantheon region, and for a time a Winding Light region. It's not really doing too good in terms of a more slower control region. Ionia and PNZ have kind of been taking over that, and to a lesser extent other regions like Bandle City as well. Do I think this will help out Targon Invokes enough to make it to come back to play, like heavy play? No. And in all honesty, in Eternal format, I don't think this is even that big of a change. In Standard format, I kind of like this because there's not as many Invokes in Standard. I also like it. It's, in my opinion, a kind of a big buff for Star Shaping. Sometimes you play Star Shaping and that's pretty much your only Invoke card. So sometimes you would play Star Shaping, you'd see Supernova, and you're like, well, I don't have another Celestial, so I'm just not picking Supernova. So yeah, I like this. Now if you do that, if you Star Shaping yourself, and you see Supernova, you're like, oh, okay, I'll take Supernova. It's a solid card. Cosmic Inspiration gives you a little extra grindiness, a little extra late game. So yeah, overall, big fan of this buff. Next up, Crimson Aristocrat. Formerly, she used to just be a 2-mana 2/2 that when you played her, she deals 1 to something and gives it +2/+0. Now she only gives +1/+0, but she also gives Overwhelm. Yes, it's labeled as a buff, and I agree it is a buff. I definitely think the Overwhelm keyword is much, much, much better than the +1/+0 that Crimson Aristocrat is no longer giving. I believe they're actually mentioning it here in the developer notes. The Scar Grounds, I believe is what they mean by scars, but the Scar Ground archetype has always been somewhat weak. This change is to allow this card to be a more generic tool for Noxus. So it feels like they're trying to both buff up Scar Ground deck, or I guess Scars is their, like, I don't know, self-damage, the term they use for their self-damage decks. I still think this card is best with those with like Scar Grounds. Sure, I don't think Vlad or like Vladbrom or Scar Grounds in general will be good post-patch, but I like it. That deck always did kind of struggle to finish people off. Even you would get like a really, really big unit, but if it was on if it was a really big unit that just didn't have Overwhelm, you were kind of out of luck because you're like, I gotta force through damage, and some people went so far as to play Might. Will I play Might over Crimson Aristocrat? I don't think the answer is yes or no. I feel like they both are unique enough that neither one is better than the other. Next up, Pix. A little scary here. Pix now has Barrier. Not much to talk about here. Usually Pix has seen play. Lulu Jinx sometimes played Pix. Pix was solid to help buff Flame Chompers. If you didn't have like Lulu to buff up your Flame Chompers, Pix was a solid backup. The weakness was always usually just that Pix would just die because Pix is a 0-2. And most decks have like 2-1s and 3-2s by turn 1 and 2. So yeah, Pix, you always were just kind of like giving up Pix and giving up a card for free with Pix. Now that Pix has barrier, Pix will most likely get 2 attacks in before they die, so that's pretty nice. So I like it. Big change for them. Will this make Lulu Jinx playable again? I don't think so, but Lulu Jinx is always a scary deck. Between like Jinx nerfs, some of the spell nerfs, etc., I'm still a little iffy on Lulu Jinx. Speaking of Ionia cards, Twin Disciplines has been reverted. A little scary here. Used to give +2/+0 or +0/+3. Now it's back to its old form, which is +3/+0 or +0/+3. Not its original form. I believe, actually, like a little piece of trivia, this card actually used to cost 3 mana, and not many people played it. And they made it 2 mana? And then, now that might have been a long time ago, or I might be having a fever dream here and making up an alternate reality. But I do remember this card. Like, one of the reasons, I don't even remember the deck that got this card nerfed. I feel like it was just elusives, like some kind of Freljord Ionia Z elusive deck. And Twin Disciplines just help push damage a lot, which is why they nerfed the damage aspect of Twin and not the health aspect. So yeah, since we've increased the power level of the game, I feel like it's fine. Like, I honestly don't even think it'll be that much of a change. Now this change, I like this change. Eminent Benefactor, you probably don't know this card exists. 4 mana, 3/3 guy. Last breath, create in hand of random epic from your regions. Value, I love cards like this. Basically replaces himself when he dies. The problem is random epic from your regions. Too many whiffs. Way too many whiffs. So they've changed him. First off, they've given him an extra point of attack. So now he's a 4 mana 4/3. Pretty solid. Now he no longer has to die. Now when you just play him, he'll manifest an epic card from your regions. I think that's really good. First off, a 4 mana 4/3 is okay stats for its cost. Not great, but solid-ish enough. But a 4 mana 4/3 that also manifests an epic card from your regions, it's pretty solid. I've actually on stream went through a lot of the epic cards on stream, and I looked at all of them and I was like, you know what? When you see 3 cards from most regions, especially when PNZ is guaranteed, or almost always guaranteed to be one of those regions, you're getting some pretty good stuff. You know, like, for example, Glorious Evolution, Progress Day, Acorn, I believe, is also another one. So yeah, and then that's not to mention the secondary region, you know, something like an Ionia, for example. Ionia has like Mina, Sinan, etc., etc. So I really like this card. Not sure what deck I'm going to put it in. Like, I was thinking maybe some kind of like Ionia PNZ Seraphine Karma deck, but that's insane amounts of late game. I don't know if I would want that much late game in a Karma deck, but hey, maybe like a Victor deck instead. This guy does help level up Victor. So yeah, maybe like something with Victor. Victor Seraphine, perhaps? Next up, Captive Yeti. They've slightly reworked this guy. Used to be a 6 mana 5/5 with Overwhelm that said when Reputation's active, costs 3 less. Now it's a 5 mana 5/5, doesn't have Overwhelm anymore, and when Reputation is active, it will cost 4 less. So a 1 mana 5/5 Yeti, like the like Captive Yeti, I believe is the name. I feel like this might also be hinting towards the Yeti tribal that might be coming out, or getting more support when Nunu and Willump eventually come to the game. Maybe Yetis will have like lots of 1 mana 5/5s just flooding the board really early. That could be cute. But yeah, like, I don't know. I don't think this is going to do much, but it is nice that they're trying other stuff. I don't know, though. I honestly think this is not even an upgrade or a buff. I'm getting all tongue-tied here. I feel like this is a side grade and not an upgrade, because losing Overwhelm, this thing having Overwhelm was pretty good for the few decks that would play it. Next up, Sanctum Conservator. This guy was a 8 mana 8/5. He was part of the Slay archetype. When you played him, if you had slayed 13 units in the game, basically kind of like Ruination, kill all followers, only followers, left behind champions, then summon a copy of me, another 8-man or another 8/5 with Fearsome. Now, he's still doing the same thing, but if you haven't gotten all those units slain, he'll kill a follower. I mean, I still think this guy's just way too slow, but you know, it's nice they're trying something here, but I still feel like this guy's too slow to see play. Also, the fact that he only hits followers does kind of suck. Sure, it's only enemy stuff, but I don't know. Leaving behind champions for what is basically an 8-drop is kind of annoying. Well, not much to talk about with this guy. Draven. This has been a much requested revert from a lot of people. Aggro players, mid-range players, control players. He's back. Draven is now a 3/3. If you weren't playing when Draven was a 3/3, I'll tell you right now, 3/3 Draven was very annoying. Very hard to kill. And then they made him a 3/2 and everyone's like, dies to Mystic Shot, lol. Yes, there's more removal in the game, but 3 health on turn 3 is still kind of tough to remove. And of course, you play Draven because you want the spinning axe early on. I don't think Tri-Beam is going to come back. I think the days of Tri-Beam are over now. I think there's just too much easy value. That was one of the reasons why Tri-Beam was so strong. There wasn't that much value in the game when Tri-Beam was at its peak. And now, like, so many cards just either, like, manifest or draw or, you know, invoke as well from Targon or just create more cards. So, yeah, Tri-Beam's kind of meh, but maybe like a Ezreal Draven, like no Tri-Beams at all. Draven Jinx discard aggro. I feel like, honestly, maybe... I'm not sure if Jinx even wants Draven anymore for discard aggro now that Samira's here. But maybe. Maybe we'll have Draven see some play again. I like this change. Withering Wail has gotten a mana discount, 4 mana. I've seen a lot of people crying about this and saying this is a bad idea. The funny thing is, like, I've actually had some of the top level, highest level aggro players actually tell me this is nothing. And I'm just saying, like, right now, if like high level aggro players are not worried about this, you should not be excited about this if you're a control player, or worried about this if you're an aggro player. Yes, it's nice, but here's the thing. Before rotation happened, Withering Wail wasn't that good. It was just too easy to play around. Demacia players just had Ranger's Resolve. Other aggro decks just had things that didn't die to Wail. Mid-range decks had counter spells or, you know, combat tricks like Troll Chance and Sharp Sights and whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure this is going to do too much. It is a nice buff. Like, I'm glad they're buffing Wail, but there's a lot of other aggro buffs here that I don't think the one Wail buff is enough to combat at all. I'm not really saying aggro is going to be a big thing in Eternal, but kind of wish they would give another, like, pure control buff here besides just this. Speaking of mid-range, that's annoying. Concurrent Timelines has been reverted back to 1 mana. If you missed playing Timelines into Trundle Ice Pillar, well, have fun again. I really hope Timelines doesn't come back. They have nerfed a lot of the Weapon Masters, which were one of the things that Timelines liked, but Timelines didn't really care about the stats on the Weapon Masters, and that's how they nerfed the Weapon Masters. So, you know, maybe dust off all of your old Timeline decks with your Trundle Timelines, so have fun. Poppy is now at 3/3, not much to talk about with that, just a nice little +1. She buffs, she hits a lot more stuff, she buffs a lot more stuff now in her first attack. Not sure if it will make Poppy see play again. Maybe some Scouts Poppy will see play, because now she'll actually buff, like, Misfortune or something. She buffs Quinn now. So yeah, maybe this will make Poppy see play again. Kind of surprised they didn't completely revert her and make her a 4/3, but 4/3 Poppy was insanely strong. Midden Stock Henchman, I feel like this is like the 5th time they've buffed this guy. He's now a 5/5 instead of a 5/4. one of these days, they'll probably just, like, give this guy so many stats he'll just see play, but I don't think a 5-mana 5/5 that has to strike the Nexus is going to see play in Eternal. Wise Fry? Kind of a big buff for this guy. He's still a 6-mana card, so it's kind of really slow, but he no longer has Vulnerable, and he got a +1 attack buff, so now he's a 4/8. So, you know, 4/8. When you play him, he deals 1 to all other allies, and he gets +1/+0 for each of them. So he could theoretically be a 9/8 Overwhelm. If you just have like 2 other units, he's a 6/8 Overwhelm. I feel like you want him to be at least a 6/8 to play him. Not sure what deck wants this. Maybe Tom Raka. Like, you have to care about the damage, so maybe Tom Raka, maybe some weird Bilgewater, Freljord, Scargrounds deck. Maybe some weird Vlad deck, I don't know. And this one's a little scary for me. Like, in fact, really, really scary here. Grand Plaza has been buffed again. Grand Plaza, or buffed, sorry, reverted. Grand Plaza, when it first came out, did what it did. It gave Challenger, and it gave +1/+1. Proved too strong, and they nerfed it to what it was, which was +1/+0 instead. And now they're reverting it, so it gives +1/+1 again. The nice thing is it wasn't really just played with mid-range and even aggro decks. It was also played a little bit with control, mostly like Lux decks, but I don't know. I just feel like the game might be a little too fast for Plaza nowadays, in all honesty. Maybe I could also honestly see, like, you know what is kind of scary now that I think about it? Evelyn Lucian Grand Plaza. Yes, it's really slow, but every Husk will have +1/+1 in Challenger for the turn, which is kind of cute. So yeah, I kind of like this. I like this buff. Little hesitant, little scared of it, but I like the buff overall. The revert, whatever you want to call it. No idea what they're doing here with Captain Arica. She's gotten a buff. She is now a little bit smaller, but in exchange, she is a 6-mana card instead of an 8-mana card. So stat nerf, but a mana cost reduction. Mana cost reduction is much nicer than that stat nerf. Still, though, again, not really sure what deck wants this card. So whatever. Really, that's all I can say. Like, I don't know, maybe some weird like Jace Lux deck. Also not sure about this. On Guard is now 2 mana instead of 3 mana. I don't think I've ever seen this card played, like actually put in someone's deck. Burst speed spell, give all allies Challenger this round. I guess, like, you can argue, well, you can get it randomly off of Seraphine now, which is not a terrible card to get off of Seraphine. And this card, complete meme here. Out of the way. From 5 mana to 4 mana. If you don't know what the card does, 4 mana slow spell for the rest of the game. Allied buffs except barrier are permanent, and you get to draw 1. I love this card. One of my favorite meme cards. I love to play this card a lot with like Aphelios and cards that just give invincibility, to put it simply. Because there are some cards that give temporary invincibility for the turn, and Out of the Way makes that permanent. So yeah, I like this card. Big fan of this card. I think it's still a meme. I don't think putting it to 4 mana makes it a real card. Maybe at 3 mana, it could actually be a scary card. But they're probably scared of how this would work with stuff like Daybreak as well. And Iceborne Legacy back to 5 mana. I am glad it's not burst speed. I guess that's nice. So you can't play it during combat as a combat trick, but 5 mana Iceborne Legacy is a little scary. This card kind of had to get nerfed because it was just too good with elusive Poros. You would have like a lot of elusive Poros from just putting elusive Poros in your deck, playing Poro Cannon. But between this being focus speed now and Poro Cannon being 1 mana, I don't think Poros, Daring Poros, elusive Poros will be back. People also play this with spiders though, so maybe some kind of spider control can come out again. I would like that. Escaped Abominations, now a 4/3. Pretty good. Shadow Isles aggro has kind of been a joke for a long time, so this is a nice buff. On a side note, this card has seen a bunch of changes. Card used to be a 4/4, then I think it was a 4/3, Then I think it was a 4-2. Then I think they made it a 3-3, and now they're making it a 4-3 again. Which, I don't know. I don't know if this is enough, but it is something. I really feel like Shadow Isles aggro just needs like one good aggro champ in Shadow Isles that's not Elise. Because Elise, in my opinion, is, while she's okay for aggro, she's starting to show her age. Blessing of Targon's now 4 mana. Kind of like this. I still don't think you're going to actually play Blessing of Targon in your deck, but, you know, it is Tarek's champ spell, so nice little Tarek buff here. It's in the Targon Telstones, which got a change recently, a rework, if you will. So also a slight buff to Blessing, Targon Telstones, which is a solid card now. Yeah, so I like this. I like this change. Always actually been a fan of this card. Just always felt like it was a little too expensive at 5 mana. Kinku Lifeblade, I honestly don't remember this card. I mean, I remember the card. I don't remember when it got nerfed. This card actually used to always be a 2-3. And it got nerfed a long time ago when elusives were being really strong. I believe it was with Zed elusives too, with Freljord. Using things like Elixir of Iron, so pre-Troll Chant. Maybe Troll Chant was out by then, I can't remember. But this card was really annoying because it just, like, it meant you couldn't race against elusive decks, like you tried to play like Discard Aggro or something, or just all-out burn. You weren't able to race against them, and of course control decks and mid-range decks had a hard time interacting with elusives. So they made this guy a 2-2. And for the longest time he stayed at 2-2. And now he's a 2-3 again. I don't think he's going to see play, but, you know, nice little revert here. And that's it for buffs. Still upset, no Fangs buff. Still just wondering where that guy is. Feels like they've forgotten that card even exists, but hey, they gave us some Celestial buffs. Anyway, now for the nerfs. So first off, a Samira nerf. Another Samira nerf, which honestly is kind of deserved. Even after her first round of nerfs, she was still really good. They didn't just nerf Samira, and they nerfed her spell all out. They also nerfed Burblefish, I believe, and I feel like they probably nerfed another card that I just can't remember. Inferno? I think Inferno got nerfed too. She was a 1-4 now. So they're nerfing Samira again. First off, they're nerfing Samira herself. Level 2 Samira now, basically her rally counter resets at the start of a round with the attack token, which it never reset before, which is not that big of a nerf. But it's a nerf. Now the Flare nerf. This is insanely huge. Flare used to be able to deal 1 to the enemy nexus or give an ally challenger this round. It still can deal 1 to the enemy nexus, but now it can only give allied Samira's challenger. That's really bad for pretty much every single Samira deck out there. And before you say, well, I played Samira Seraphine. Samira Seraphine played that, like, 6/6 quick attack thing that gets cheaper whenever you play a spell. You'd like to give that thing challenger with Flare. Samira Pantheon. Samira Pantheon definitely would like to give challenger to Pantheon using Flare. I guess Samira Fizz didn't care about giving challenger to other things that much, but I don't know. It's a big nerf to a lot of Samira decks. Next up, some Yordle nerfs. Kind of surprised they nerfed the Yordle deck. When they buffed Bandle Gunners, the Yordle deck did kind of, well, explode onto the scene. And then people started to realize how to play around it, how impact worked with prize fight, and started to play around it. Now, though, and it started to fall in line with other decks' win rates, but they gave it 2 nerfs. Tristana nerf now needs 1 extra ally to level up, and they took away the spell shield from Bandle Gunners, which is kind of big. Like, that, removing that spell shield is actually really big of a nerf. I still think Yordles are playable in standard, at least, even with these nerfs, but I don't know. I don't think Yordles would have been playable even without these nerfs happening in Eternal, so good luck if you're a Yordle player. And Powder Pandemonium. I was mentioning Samira Fizz earlier, and how Samira Fizz doesn't care about giving challengers to stuff too much with Flare, but this is a huge nerf. Like, I've talked to a lot of people who are like high ranked people on ladder and play Samira Fizz, and they're like, this nerf is insanely big for the deck. Powder Pandemonium no longer grants vulnerable. It just summons the powder monkeys, which is really bad. I still feel like you might play it if you were in standard because it's a lot of damage, and you know there's no such thing as decimate in standard. Kind of funny this card's been nerfed twice. This card used to be 4 mana, then it got nerfed to 5 mana, and now it's getting its current nerf. As a person who plays control, I don't care. I hate this card. I've lost this card so many times where my opponent just plays powder monkeys, uses the vulnerable granting to just pull blockers out of the way, and just kill me. Very annoying. And that's it for buffs and nerfs, but we got a few card adjustments. They're reworking how reputation works, it seems. Reputation cards will now reduce their cost instead of setting the cost to a certain amount. So now Mimic is now 5 mana, but it costs 3 less when you activate Reputation. When it now it used to cost 1, or it used to, yeah, exactly cost 1 when you activate Reputation. And also, when you play your next spell this round, copy it with the same targets previously. Pick a spell in play or in hand and create a fleeting copy of it in hand. I don't know if this rework will make it see play, but cute change. This rework to Reputation also does make it a little bit worse against pranks, but honestly, pranks aren't that popular anyway, so while it's worse against pranks, I still think this change is better overall. And also, momentous choice. Big change here, nice change here. Previously, it used to just basically copy itself if you've equipped an ally. At 1 mana, that was OP and busted. They made it 2 mana, and you pretty much never saw it anymore at 2 mana. Was way too good with things like Lee Sin as well. Now, if it's still the same thing as it was before, but now if it costs 1 less if you've equipped an ally this game, and it will give something +2/+0 or +0/+2. So it can be 1 mana for +2/+0 or +0/+2 again, but it no longer duplicates itself. So Lee Sin players in shambles. So yeah, I think this is a very big change, very scary in fact. Also, it's not that great for Varus. It is like Varus. This is not as good as it was for Varus because it's not copying spells, casting spells multiple times. Only 1 spell is being cast, so you're not getting 2 cultist spells as well, which I believe they reworked how the origins worked for the Darkened guys anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. Still though, this is a basically 1 mana smaller Twin Discipline. And that's it for the card changes. So we got some competitive changes here. Important for you guys who care about tournaments. They will have 2 Runeterra opens this month. A first one on June 10th, the weekend of June 10 and 11, and the second one next week, June 17th through 18th. And then of course your gauntlet schedule here, you know, for all you people who care. New daily Rumble formats, Eternal format, free build is finally coming. Free build, you will build with 10 to 100 cards, up to 10 regions and 20 champions, kind of cute. Unlimited gauntlet month is kind of nice too. All gauntlets have been unlocked, allowing you to compete multiple times in the same day. But they've adjusted gauntlet rewards to change it up. So, you know, 0 wins now will not give any trophies. And then of course, you know, your standard rest of the stuff. Free emotes here for Pride Month. I believe, yeah, also a free emote and a free icon to celebrate Riot's other game that just came out recently called Convergence, which is I believe it's the action platformer that's focusing on Echo. And then this is kind of annoying, but they're like, hey, an announcement of announcement. They're going to be updating an old skin. No idea what it is. Yeah, again, like adding free build to the friend challenge here. Adding Champs Unlimited friend challenge. I don't have friends, so that doesn't mean anything to me. This is really nice too, actually. Free deck bundles for like new players if you want to try and get your friends to start playing the game. We're introducing 7 free standard decks. Make sure to get these ASAP and have your friends come collect them. They'll be available in the store until June 28th. So, you know, pretty good there if you're going to try and start the game up, or if you're trying to get a friend to start. Good to try and incentivize them with this. Also good if you have been wanting to create a secondary account on another region or a Smurf account. Good to help you build one. And then a bunch of bug fixes, none that I think are really important. And that is it. That is the entire change, the entire balance patch and all the other patch changes. I'd love to hear what you guys think, though. Like, are you excited for the Eternal format? What do you think it's going to be like? I personally think there's going to be like lots of pirate aggro, even with some of these changes. I feel like Rise will be popular because Rise and coins seems really annoying. Perhaps something like Trundle's set with Old Timer and the Cobra that we saw yesterday. But yeah, I'm very curious as to what you guys think is going to be the meta, what kind of decks you're going to try out, and what you guys think about the balance patch in general. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And if you guys just enjoyed the video in general, I would love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below. It always helps me out and always helps out the channel. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel as well. And if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zeneton, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye.